So, a US deportation flight landed in Eswatini carrying violent criminals from 5 different countries. But Eswatini isn't their final stop. I don't think they are going to be staying at Eswatini. Uh, Eswatini doesn't have immigration infrastructure, no healthcare system. Where do these people go next? South Africa is the soft target. Again, so yesterday, a US government deportation flight landed in Eswatini. Eswatini is a tiny country with no meaningful immigration infrastructure and barely a functioning healthcare system. This is about South Africa. South Africa, you need to pay attention here. This is about you. It's about us. These deportees will eventually end up in South Africa. They're going to be in the township. They're going to be there straining the infrastructure. This is a ticking time bomb. And where do these individuals come from? They come from Vietnam, Cuba, Laos, Yemen, and Jamaica. And some of them were convicted of child rape, assault, and murder. So the Trump era deportation strategy is to deport migrants not to their own home countries, but to safe third countries. Even if like those countries were never actually consented to hosting them long term. And also because the US Supreme Court declared the way for these removals to happen. And they often happen really with less than 6 hours notice, apparently. So apparently, Donald Trump thinks that Eswatini is the safe third country. After I just told you that they don't even have immigration infrastructure, even healthcare, do you think that's a safe third country? So where would these people go across the border into South Africa? I mean, Eswatini's public health system is a joke. Many of its citizens often seek help across the border in South Africa. They often seek the help across the border in South Africa. There is no infrastructure there. There's no infrastructure to even house them, to keep them monitored, to track them, to rehabilitate violent foreign nationals. Apparently, many of them had no identifications, no medical records, and also no intention of staying put. Like I suspected, they are going to South Africa. They're coming near to you, South Africa. If you're South Africans, these people will be walking along your neighborhood free. With this subs problem that we're told by Ntantam Kwanazi, and yeah, making the country even more unsafe for South African citizens. The healthcare system's already overwhelmed. The last video, we heard from the Action SA who was interviewed by Newsroom Africa. There are serious concerns around the healthcare system and also public school. And these concerns haven't been addressed. And then you have people now being dumped in Eswatini. where there is hardly any in healthcare infrastructure there that's of meaningful. So we know that better border, patrol is really patchy at best, and many of these deportees will walk across, informal entry points with no screening. So South Africa is a dumping ground for global deportations. So these policies, it's been designed unilaterally, 1,000 kilometers away in Washington. This is actually dangerous because it's deportations it's done in a way that isn't a dodgy way, deportation that are hidden, that are fast tracked through these ICE procedures that sidesteps asylum law, human rights, and basic security vetting. This is how this deportation happens in America now. So this issue isn't just about US issue. This is going to be a regional crisis waiting to explode. This is a regional crisis waiting to explode. Because this issue is really, it's rewriting asylum law. And actually small nations like Eswatini are being used as a geopolitical pawns. Suppose Trump as white Afrikaner refugees wasn't that successful. Now they're starting with another issue that likely this one to see if South African citizens are going to revolt against the government for this one here. Because these people aren't going to be in Eswatini. We know they're not going to be Eswatini. They will be in your street South Africans. They will be in the township, lining up, creating problem there. Because this fallout runs right here. It runs hard in South Africa schools, in hospital, yeah, in under-resourced community, rural community. This is where the problem will end up. Because, the white African refugees didn't have that much impact at all. Now let's start another one. Let's use Eswatini as the pawn and stop and offload these people. So I want to know what you guys think about it, about this issue. Because South Africa has a bilateral relationship with these countries and some security pact. So they now need to review this and see if they can actually review these Southern African Development Community SADC protocols that they have in place about the policy reviews. So because these SADC protocols were designed for regional solidarity, not for unilateral, did Eswatini actually agree to this? So that is a unilateral agreement of this government, Eswatini, with the USA, it looks like it. Because under international law, you can't just come in and dump people in without an agreement of that country. Did Eswatini agree? We assume that they agreed to it. So that's they made a unilateral agreement with America to allow these individuals to be dropped in a country where they don't even have infrastructure to support them. So what will happen is that these people will end up in South Africa. Their en route to use South Africa. They be right there in your neighborhood, in your town, in your schools. That is where they will end up. Yep. Yep. So these regional countries, the three countries we're talking about is Zimbabwe, Eswatini, and Mozambique. And I would also add Lesotho there. There is a problem with these countries. They become a bigger security threat around because now it looks like they're making their own unilateral decision while the burden around looking after their citizens lies in solely in South Africa. They get dumped in South Africa. And I would like to know, this needs to be cleared by this person, Minister of Foreign Relations, whether this was something that Eswatini agreed to. Did South Africa, did South African government consulted? Did Eswatini government consult South African government about this? Were the SADC region aware this was going to happen? That the Trump was going to send criminals in Eswatini that hasn't got any infrastructure for its own citizens, that rely on South Africa to support their citizens for everything. Because they don't have any capacity to treat such deportees. They don't. So many of them will end up in those clinics where we see people now, the community standing up for their own community and saying enough is enough. We don't want our infrastructure is actually collapsing. This infrastructure is meant for us. So may I please get your people, sort your people that you brought into the country. Because South Africans, most of these communities in South Africa have the right under the constitution to self-govern themselves, to tell the government that they don't agree with certain laws, and they haven't been used, that section 20 in South African constitution that allows the existence of Orania. Many indigenous South African community haven't used that section, but it may come to that they would need to be looking at whether they could use that section, because it's getting ridiculous now. It's absolutely getting out of control that we now going to be forced to accept criminals when you have your own criminals. Just the other day, the Minister of Correctional Service was saying that you know, the prisons are full of immigrants. He was actually trying to see if the countries that for example, if they have Nigerian criminals in South Africa prison, ask Nigeria if they will take their own criminals, and then have an agreement. They're now trying to see if they can offload the criminals that are in that are not South African citizens in the prison, because the prison in South Africa is full. They're trying to offload them to see if they can deport them to other countries. Now, on top of that, you have a country like Eswatini that its citizens rely on basic goods like infrastructure, like healthcare services and shopping, rely heavily on South Africa, and then unilaterally makes a decision to bring about criminals who are going to end up in South Africa. Make this make sense. Yeah. So I don't know, guys. Just let me know what you think about this one. But this one is actually, yeah, it's a unilateral decision by Eswatini to allow these people to allow even the flight to land, because it shouldn't even have allowed even the flight to land. That means they have agreed to it. Allow this flight to land and offload these individuals into their border. A huge security threat for region, absolutely to the highest scale, that they've allowed this to happen. So I'm actually waiting to see how South Africa is going to respond to this one. And we've got a very weak person that's running that Home Affairs Department. The Home Affairs Department has never had any strong leadership anyway. So even now, it's even worse this time around, because Dr. Leon Schaber thinks he's the Minister of Visas. That's what he thinks. That's what he's there for. Because this is another problem here. Because this problem is going to get to the prison, it's going to get to healthcare, it's going to create a problem elsewhere within South Africa. This problem here, that these individuals that were just dropped and offloaded in Eswatini, a country that doesn't have even basic service like shopping, family, or services, that often they would have to go to Mpumalanga, KZN, and Gauteng to receive those services. And they don't even have infrastructure for anything at all. Yeah. Yay. I don't know. Let me know what do you think about this segment. What are your thoughts? If you're South African, what do you think about it? About this deportation? They're gonna end up in your city. No, I'm not trying to scare you because I've seen them. Even last time when I remember in Mozambique when they had those riots, some of these people who broke up from that prison were found within the South African border. Yep. Some of them, we don't know where they are. They're probably still on the street of South Africa. Some of them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Making communities even more unsafe. One minute you cry that South Africa is a very unsafe country. One minute you say you bring even more criminals into that country. And most of these criminals, they commit crime and they commit crime in a rural community. Rural community bear the brunt of these foreign national criminals in South Africa, according to the statistics. So, yeah, there you go. So this stuff, it's just about creating a problem in the SADC region, instability in the SADC region, about paying all these countries that do not have a backbone. Yeah, it's instability in this region in your doorstep.